Okay, I'm sat here today with one of my colleagues, Dr. John Hockey, who teaches things to do with sociology and research methods and all kinds of crazy things.
All right.
But I'm not going to quiz you about that, John. Another thing I know about you is that you practice meditation.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
A form of meditation predominantly derived from a kind of Buddhist source. Do you feel, and you've been doing that for some time, do you feel that makes you a Buddhist, or would you describe yourself as a Buddhist?
Well, that's a good question, because all I really do is practice.
Right.
So I do Zen Buddhist practice. So that's the meditation. And I suppose kind of ethically I kind of try and don't kill sentient beings, so I'm a vegetarian. And try and be compassionate. Try is the operative word.
Sure.
But I'd say, given I do the practice as sincerely as I can,
And that's kind of interesting. It's interesting for me, that initial reticence to say, I practice Buddhism. So there's clearly a story there about you do Buddhist practice, you have an ethical practice that is clearly informed by it.
Yeah.
And I think with many religions, many people might say, yeah, sure, I'm a Christian, I'm a Buddhist. But you were initially a little unsure to say, I'm definitely a Buddhist. Is that because it doesn't have a large doctrinal element to it that you sign up to, or?
Yeah. I suppose. That's a fair point. I don't involve myself with, for example, study of the sutras.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So the kind of what you might call it, at present I'm not involved with any Buddhist organisation or institution.
So you're not involved in a kind of communal expression?
No. I have been years ago, but I'm not at the moment.
And I wonder if that is because it's a religion that you've come to as an outsider. You feel that perhaps, if many people who might describe themselves as, for example, Christian, may well not have studied in that sense, but feel because it's their kind of tradition they've been brought up in, they feel more comfortable saying, I'm casually a member of that. But there's something about it being different to the tradition that you might have grown up as.
Yeah, I was brought up as a Catholic.
Right.
And I have been involved in Zen Buddhist groups a long time ago.
Would you say, sorry to interrupt you,
okay.
This is another Buddhist practitioner I know who still describes himself as a Buddhist Catholic. He feels that's, would you say you're not a Catholic anymore?
No, I'm not a Catholic. No.
So you're still Welsh, but not a Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still Welsh. Yes.
So you can't get away from that.
No.
Buddhism or not. So when you have conversations with people about matters that touch on religion, and you identify yourself, albeit sometimes perhaps reticently, as a Buddhist practitioner, what kind of response has that changed over the years? Do people react in funny ways, or do you not match their?
I think it depends on the nature of the audience. I think, say 20, 30 years ago, there would have been a kind of a blank stare.
Right.
Now I think more people actually more or less know what Buddhism is. I think there's more awareness of it than there was 30 years ago.
And is that awareness, and I really don't know what you think of this, is that awareness also accompanied by a sense of curiosity? Is it often followed up by a kind of inquisitorial aspect?
Yeah. People tend to be curious about it. They say one of the questions is, "Oh, you do meditation?" Yeah. "Oh, do you float around the room?"
Yeah, really. I've not seen you doing that.
Yeah, I can't manage that. No.
All this year's practicing.
Yeah. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They will say that satirically, but they're interested.
But that's interesting. It says something, I think, about the cultural positioning of Buddhism in our culture, that people are sufficiently, or think of it in a way that's sufficiently benign, to feel almost kind of, humorous about it, or kind of gently mocking, or there isn't a sense of you'll be offended about it. This isn't. I mean, even though in parts of the world there are extremist Buddhist groups, but there's a sense where we position Buddhism culturally that we won't offend Buddhists as easily, or
I think that because it's from outside and it's different, and it has this kind of sort of I suppose kind of maybe reputation for compassion.
Right.
I think when people do that, they don't expect somebody to hit them on the nose.
Yeah. And that's just something, I guess, about the way Buddhism is represented culturally. It's not affiliated in the same way in our culture and our media with danger.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
The famous Buddhists and mostly people like Dalai Lama are.
Yeah, that's the most famous, probably the most famous.
Maybe Rishikesh or celebrity Buddhists.
Celebrity Buddhists. Yeah.
That's very kind of interesting, I think. So you would say that's been for a long period of time, that kind of practice?
For me, it's been. I did practice quite a bit when I first went to university, because there was the Zen Buddhist group at the university, and then I got a bit more involved with it institutionally, and then I had a long period. Then I had probably 20 years of not being involved in it. And then life became quite difficult, and to deal with the difficulty, I turned back to it.
That's kind of interesting. And given what we hear in the mainstream press quite often, in the kind of popular, almost kind of entertainment press, about another form of Buddhist meditation, you've probably been aware of it, at least to some extent, about mindfulness. This explosion. It's almost been seen as a kind of panacea for all our mental health problems. And actually, there's some people believe quite good emerging evidence about the way mindfulness might impact on people with anxiety disorders. I wonder, it's kind of interesting to have your perspective on that as someone who practices a different kind of meditation, a kind of next door, or maybe in the monastery over, from the kind of practice of samatha or mindfulness kind of meditation that's grown out of a particular tradition. It's been interesting for you to see that phenomenon kind of explode in a way in terms of its popularity and its benignness it's seen as.
I think it's a good development. I mean, you can attach whatever meaning you want to. So you can attach a religious meaning to it, to the practice of meditation. You can attach a secular meaning to it. But my view is, if you're doing it within a secular tradition and it works in the sense that it helps, it helps you deal with kind of the complexities of your life, then I'm fine.
That's interesting. Yeah, I mean, some people have been made, I think, anxious that what happens when mindfulness meditation is completely secularized, for example, is that by wrenching it out of its kind of philosophical context, sure, whatever, you lose some of that, but you're bound to. But what I think concerns people more is that it loses some kind of ethical roots. You were saying that the biggest influence that perhaps the Zen practice has had on you has been on how you practice and how you cope with life's vicissitudes and things through meditation. But also you would aspire to a kind of ethical practice. One would fall short of that on occasion, but some kind of ethical aspiration would be the twin pillar that went with the practice. And the worry would be that people would use it almost like as a Prozac. Make yourself, you've got a problem, use mindfulness, feel better. But if it doesn't affect how you treat other people.
Well, I think if you practice and you do it consistently, it will impact on how you.
So you think that the ethical component is somewhat interwoven into the practice itself?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks very much, John.
You're welcome.